Hey, okay, we're back. Day 8. I had an interesting one, actually, an interesting night. So again, no out of body experience technically, but the intensity of the vibrations kind of that I'm feeling as I'm starting to go to sleep and the events that are kind of occurring in between sleep and wake, I guess maybe just between these different brain states, beta, theta, data, all the different stuff, is definitely getting more intense. So last night I downloaded a thing from the Monroe Institute. It's called the one I chose was Across the Great Pond, and so I listened to that as I was going to sleep, focusing on the visualizations of being in here, saying the mantra over and over again. And my results were, in fact, I just kind of chilled even just thinking about it. My results were this vibration is getting louder and louder. And as I'm like in the middle of this sleep, I could, again, similar to the night before, I could hear myself kind of snoring. I know that I'm getting there and I'm trying to stay asleep almost. I'm trying to kind of stay in it until I pop out into this out of body experience, whatever that may be. And instead I find myself just waking up. So I don't know if it's my body getting used to it. If it's, as I mentioned yesterday, it's a muscle that needs to be built. But so two things. So that was one. One, I certainly had like a way more intense. It's definitely louder. It's definitely almost feels brighter, if that makes sense. It feels like there's more of a white light scenario. I don't know how to describe it. Otherwise, again, this is not an out of body thing. This is definitely feels more like a dream, or just like an in between conscious, kind of like when you wake up in the morning and you're not really awake yet, but you know you're becoming awake and you have certain thoughts. This is kind of where that space is. And while this is going on, I'm feeling like totally just it's getting louder. It's almost like there's like a freight train right outside. I could just feel it all over my body. And then as soon as I'm like, yes, I'm almost there. Okay, it's gonna happen any second. And then I just kind of wake up. And I'm like, okay, well, it didn't happen. So here I am. So that was one thing that definitely happened last night. It was pretty intense, but no visuals, no climbing, no getting out of my bed, no getting out of my body, no floating, no anything like that, no leaving the room. At one point, though, later in the night, I believed that I heard my wife talking and like slamming closet doors, and I couldn't really understand what she was saying. And so much so that I realized it was like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And so it didn't make sense that she was up. So I reached over to just to make sure she wasn't there. And she was, but she's like, what? I was like, oh, I just wanted to make sure you're there. So I did have some sort of a feeling of a noise, which again, a lot of these things have been touched on in the book and other experience people who have experienced out of body experiences. They're kind of stepping into it, hearing louder noises, other voices. So I thought this was my wife. I thought it was she was slamming closets in another room, and it turns out that was just my subconscious. I think doing whatever it's doing. I don't know. That's why this is the out of body experiment, the out of body experience experiment. It's all experiment. I have no idea what's going to happen next. So here we are, day 8. I'm going to say louder noises, a higher vibration, maybe a louder vibration. I did, I mentioned yesterday waking up, trying it, getting a couple hours of sleep, going into REM a couple different times, and then trying it. So I did that this morning as well. I woke up around 5 o'clock and I got out of my bed and I went to another room and I lied down in the other room and I didn't put any headphones or anything, but I did put a blindfold on. I did go into my visualization, but I was just pretty exhausted and ended up falling asleep and nothing. I mean, and now every time I do the visualizations for any given amount of time, I certainly do get the tingling all over my body. So that part is unique and interesting. Starting it in the morning after a crazy night did not seem to change anything. I didn't have an out of body experience this morning either. So that's where we're at. Thank you for checking in. As always, any questions, thoughts, comments, if you've had any experience yourself with any of the things that I'm discussing and sharing here, please feel free to share them in the comments below. I'm open for a discussion. Again, this is all new to me. No agenda other than to have one of these experiences and see what it's like on the other side and see how I can continue to grow. And ideally, from what I've read and from what I've heard, it looks like there's such an opportunity for wisdom, for insight, for understanding of why we're here, the oneness of, the universe or multi-universes. I don't know. So I'm going to find out. Stay tuned for more. In the meantime, I appreciate you making time to watch this video. If you'd like to subscribe, the more subscriptions I get, the more people can see my video. I think that's how it works. I don't know. So if you're interested and you think this is valuable content, then feel free to like and subscribe. Otherwise, in the meantime, whether you like or subscribe or not, I like you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being you, and I will see you on the other side.